Okay. So we're just going to do a little introduction. My name is Stephanie Sheremy, and so today's date is November 8th, 2010, and we're in Rayne, Louisiana. And the purpose of the interview is just to get your experiences and your life growing up in Rayne and how it's changed and your memories of Mervyn Con and the city and stuff like that. So, if you can just tell me your name again.
Okay, my name is Fair Craig Ash.
Okay. And what's your parents' name?
My parents' name were Bertha Fair and Hugh Craig, and they owned a newspaper here in Rayne. It was my grandfather started the paper at the turn of the century.
Wow. So, what year were you born in?
1931. I'll be 80 next year.
That's very interesting. You got lots of memories for us.
Oh yes, because I was born here in Rayne. And I always said I was born here in Rayne, I'm going to die here in Rayne, because it's my home.
Were you married here?
Yes, at the little Methodist church down there. I've only been married, let me see, I was married before, had 2 children, then got divorced, and was single with my, growing up with my mother, and she helped me with my 2 children, until 13 years ago. I got married 13 years ago for the second time. Yeah.
And where did you go to school at?
I went to school, I graduated from Rayne High School, then I went to UL for a couple of semesters, then we went to Baton Rouge, and I worked at the Recreation and Park Commission. I had the City Park Center, and started school at LSU part-time. Then I resigned from Rec and got my degree from LSU in health and physical education, and came back, taught in Crowley. I taught in Crowley 3 years, and I came back here and taught 8 years. And then I went to the Department of Education in Baton Rouge and worked there for a long time. But in between times, I got my counseling degree from Indiana State University and came back to Crowley High as a counselor, a school counselor.
Okay.
Then I went to the Department of Education.
So, you grew up in Rayne, and then how old were you when you moved to Baton Rouge?
Oh, I was married and had 2 children then, yeah.
So how has Rayne changed since you were young?
Well, when we were growing up, we had to help deliver the newspapers, so we knew everybody who lived in every house in Rayne. And now we drive, my brother, when he comes in from Baton Rouge, we drive, we don't know, there's nobody living in the houses. They're either dead or they moved, or they're in guest homes or something. And that's a big change for us. And of course, one of the things we miss most is the shopping in Rayne. We miss Mervyn Cons. We all spend a lot of time at Mervyn Cons. Yeah. And then the families, well, I'm still close to a lot of the children of the older families, and I still have a lot of friends here from the newspaper, because I write a column for the newspaper here on the first Sunday. I still do that. That's my link with the newspaper, with my mother. So I do that. It came out yesterday. And so I still have a lot of the older friends. Don't know many of the younger kids, I'm just not associated with them like I was before.
What are some of the things that you remember from your childhood?
My childhood? Well, I can remember when my mother and dad worked at the newspaper, but the family also had the picture show. And so after they got through working at the newspaper, then they worked at the picture show. The whole family ran the picture show. My dad was the projectionist upstairs. My mother sold tickets. But it was great because we got into all the shows free.
Right.
That was great. And our friends, if we had friends with us, they could go in free with us. So that was fun. And then the family sold the picture show, and then my mother and daddy bought the paper from the family, the rest of the family. And we just had a good time growing up in Rain. It was a lot of fun. Everyone knew one another, you know, and we didn't get into a lot of trouble. We got into mischief, but we didn't get into a lot of trouble. But it was a wonderful time growing up here. We were safe. We'd play until the whistle blew at the rice mill at 6 o'clock, and that was our signal to go home, because we'd play with friends, you know, and just do whatever we wanted to do, and then we'd go home and meet the family for supper. Then we'd go out probably in the yards and play until 8 or 9 or even later with kids playing hide and go seek. You know, we'd make up those kind of games. We didn't have TV to watch.
Right.
So we made up our own games and our own ways. We even loved the Our Gang comedies.
Is that on the radio?
No, at the picture show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And on some of them they had where they had a little theater with a garage, you know, in a spare room, and they put on plays. We decided we were going to do that, and so down the street, just a few blocks away, they had a garage that they weren't using. So that was going to be our theater. We put sheets up and made a stage, and we had plays in there, you know. And it was just good fun, friends, because we all lived with a few blocks radius, you know. And it was just fun growing up in a small town like that.
Do you ever listen to the radio shows?
Yes.
Do you remember any of them?
Oh, yeah. The one that we loved, I'd always get scared, was the kids, we liked it, was The Shadow. It was a mystery show, you know. Only the shadow knows. And then we loved the funny ones like Jack Benny and all of those shows. They were so fun. And we'd sit on the floor and listen, because we just had one radio. And we'd sit on the floor, and the grown-ups would sit in chairs and listen to the radio. And when it was funny, like Bob Hope, we were all laughing so hard, half the time we'd miss what was coming up next, you know. It was fun. And the radios were it. And during World Series time, we all sat around the radio listening to the World Series, because my dad was a big baseball fan. And that's where I got it from, too, I think. But that was fun. We had to stop and listen to the ball games. And if they were on during the daytime, I don't know, but he always tried to manage to have a radio at the shop so he could listen, at least to know what the scores were.
So, having your family in the newspaper, how much involvement since you were young did you have in it, in operation?
I had a lot of work to do, like I was saying. Before I could really do too much, I had to take the papers out of the folder that I was telling you about. Jim, my brother, was the one to feed the papers into the press, and my brother would help get this mail ready to go to, things ready to be mailed. And then, as I got a little bit older, I learned to proofread. I had to proof all the galleys of type. We didn't have spell check in those days, so we had to proof it. And of course, when it came out of the linotype and they said that the galleys, the type's backwards, so I could read backwards as well as I could read forward. I could still read backwards today, not as well as I did then. But that proofing really helped me a lot to learn to read and to spell. And with the legals that were in the newspaper, we had to, my mother would read it and I'd proof it. And you couldn't miss a word on those legals, because otherwise you wouldn't get your money for it. And that's how the paper made some good money, with the legals. So I learned to proof and to spell and do things, punctuate everything through that experience.
What are legals?
Legals are like the police jury, their meetings, and they have to run the school board meetings, they have to run the legals in the papers for people to read. It's by law they have to do that. And then my mother was sick for a short while, and I had to write stories for the paper. I was still in high school writing the stories for the newspaper, you know. So all of that was a great experience for me and helped me a whole lot. Mother was a great speller, and I learned from her, because of course she had to spell with the paper. Then we enjoyed watching my dad work the linotype, because that's an experience. They don't have them anymore, but that was really a job to do that linotype, to set the paper with that hot lead. And he was up as much as he was sitting down, because it's like a typewriter, but it's a big keyboard. And if one of the slugs got caught in it, he'd have to get up and go stand on the back. They had like a little stand, and he'd have to reach up there and work the slugs till he got it working again, you know. So it was quite an ordeal for him.
And the paper, you said, came out once a week?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of work. And then they did job printing too. At that time we had the funeral home. If somebody died, we put the death notices out and nailed them on the telephone post, because that was the only way people would know. You didn't have TV to put deaths, and the paper only came out once a week, you know. And the radio stations, we had one, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like the radio stations of today. And so that was the way that they notified people of death. I still have my grandfather's death notice, a copy of it.